this? This is an agenda. So Lou did what I did. He, just like I texted you saying, I don't know if I'm going to be there or not. And then I said no. And he said to me yesterday, I may go on there. And then he texted me today. He's like, I'm not going to be on there. Well, they're all on the agenda. All right.
I asked Michael, right, how he was.
Oh, good. Good. He's still laughing at my joke from earlier.
Yeah. I will.
Things were good.
All right, you guys are ready?
Yes.
Okay. As soon as this thing turns to 7 o'clock.
We moved it down to the end.
Okay, it is 7 o'clock, and I will open tonight's meeting of Tuesday, August 17th, 2021, of the Lunenburg Select Board. And I will ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast live over the Lunenburg Public Access channel and on Facebook Live on the Public Access Facebook page. It will be uploaded to the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel within 24 hours after the meeting. Again, we are holding co-Zoom meetings just for people in public comment. And the Zoom information for tonight's meeting is webinar ID 909-174-0347. You can get it onto it with the Zoom app on your phone, computer, or tablet, or you can dial in with the phone number 888-475-4499. And once again, the webinar ID is 909-174-0347. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and all other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. So I will open tonight's meeting by asking if there's any public comment from the board this evening.
No comment.
No.
And none from me. Well, I will have one comment. I want to once again thank the town band for the town band concerts. It was a really interesting change at the new venue, and the venue actually worked out very well. It was easier to park, easier for people to get to, and spread out, and they played well. And it's something that I know a lot of people like myself look forward to every year, and we look forward to them coming back next year. But it was really a great 5 weeks, some of them marred by a little bit of rain here and there, but otherwise it's a great town culture event. Any public comment from the public? Okay, any announcements?
No announcements.
All right. 3 minutes early, the toll booth request from the Lunenburg Skate Park for September 25th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Please.
Hi, I'm Anthony Cayozzo, 1091 Massachusetts Avenue, and we're here to request a permit for a toll booth on September 25th from 10 to 2.
It doesn't say, at least on the agenda, but I'm assuming it's center of town?
In the center of town, correct.
Okay. Just for those people who have done, at home, you have done these before?
We have done these before at that exact location during that exact time frame.
So you are aware of all the rules?
We are.
You are here to solemnly swear you will follow the rules?
I do.
All right, there you go. Wow. Incredible to have that kind of power. So, again, for the skate park, and again, this is something that happens annually, so I would entertain a motion, unless somebody has questions for Mr. Cayozzo? Otherwise, I entertain a motion regarding the request for a toll booth for the Lunenburg Skate Park, September 25th at Town Center from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
Thank you.
Good luck. Yes.
If I may,
You
would it
may.
be a good time to give you guys an update, or should we schedule a separate slot for that?
How long is your update?
As long as you'd like it to be.
No. Wow. You know I'm saying make an appointment then if you can't tell me how.
I can do it in a
Our
minute.
next appointment is 7:10, so you have 4 minutes.
Oh, easy.
Because I want to there's going to be some time for you to go away and the other people to come forward.
Perfect. All right. So, and this is in no order of priority or importance. If you guys have questions, please, we'll take them as we go along. So since we saw you last, we've added an IT team to the team. So we've got all of our services hosted internally now. We're not paying for any more external services. We also engaged a marketing team that has been working with a team of volunteers to overhaul our website. So I don't know if you've seen our website lately, but it's actually pretty damn good looking. We've got a number of pages that talk about the project, the history, the team, profiles, bios, things like that. Has an interactive sponsor page. And to give credit, obviously, to the growing list of sponsors that are helping power the project. And we also added an online store, so people can purchase apparel, gear, things like that. We've already sold out of a couple of items within the store, so we're playing, Amazon, trying to replenish and keep items in stock and keep people apprised as to what's available. But we have hats. We've got a new round of T-shirts, a bunch of different colors and sizes for adults and kids.
What's the address of the website for people?
Oh, it's like it's always been, Lunenburg Skate Park, lunenburgskatepark.org.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And there's also a Facebook page that links to that as well, so it's one big happy online family that also can tie you into our GoFundMe page. So it's self-sufficient and self-feeding. We did the farmers market last weekend, and it was great to just get out and meet some community members that we've not had the opportunity to talk to yet. Give the kids some more experience, obviously interacting with adults and being able to just educate people on the project and where things are going. We'll probably be doing that again, probably the weekend before the toll booth. We've also engaged a professional fundraiser who is going off and talking to people at a level that we just haven't had access to. So he's hopeful he'll be able to bring some significant money into the project before the end of the year. On that front, we just surpassed the 80,000 mile marker. So I think we're almost like 83,000 and change. The race is on to get to 90, because once we hit 90, there's another 25K in tiered donations that'll kick in. It'll take us to 115 and change. So we're hitting go as hard and as fast as we can on that. We're also planning a indoor golf fundraiser, so a mini golf fundraiser with the Friends of the Library that hopefully should be taking place later this year, if not early next. We've obviously got the toll booth that we just applied for. There's a gentleman in town that we're working with to do a fundraiser in November timeframe to do a 100K run. So he's going to run about 62 miles through town over the course of 18 hours to help raise funds for the park. So stay tuned on that. And then we're also doing some exploratory digging in Marshall Park tomorrow morning with folks at the DPW to see what's underground there, so we can start making some educated decisions as to what's going on between the two sites. And that's it.
Excellent.
How'd I do?
You did excellent. You were right on time.
That was one breath.
I'm very impressed. No, thank you for the update. That's all good news.
Any questions?
Tell everybody involved. Yeah, does anybody have any questions? No.
Solid.
Tell the whole team, keep up the good work.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
7:10, the Bicycles Battling Cancer Ride request also for September 25th. Mr. Walter.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to come here before you. My name is Mark Walter. I live in Westwood, Massachusetts. I work with the American Cancer Society on the Bicycles Battling Cancer charity ride. This is probably my 5th or 6th year working with them. And I'm here to request the board's approval for the ride to come through Lunenburg. Because of the pandemic, this event has normally been in June, but it's now been switched to September 25th for this coming year. We also changed the venue. So whereas the course through Lunenburg, which we've been coming through for many years, has not changed, the start location has, so the timing is a little different. The ride this year is based at Camp Low in Lancaster, and the cyclists will leave there, turn right on Fort Pond Road, right on Lunenburg Road, come into Lunenburg, turn right on Leominster Shirley Road, and then ride out of Lunenburg. We're expecting a smaller field than normal, probably maybe 150 cyclists actually in total. So the timing, we have two multiple start times. The 100-mile riders start at 7 a.m., and then at 7:45, the 50 and 70-mile riders will start. So all of them should be through Lunenburg by 8:15. That's probably what we're looking at. And then at 11, we have our 30-mile ride group, and they should be through by 11:30. Call it.
Excellent. Now, you have done this before. How many years have you been doing this now?
it's-
3 or
it's,
4?
It's got to be probably 10 years of
10?
the event, and this is, I believe, my 6th year working with them.
So, yeah, I mean, we've not had any issues before.
The police chief has also seen
Yeah,
the
we have
plan.
his letter saying that he'd be glad to assist you. He asked that you reach out at least a week ahead so you can schedule officers to be stationed for safety of both the bicyclists and motorists. But it's a short corner through Lunenburg.
That
And-
hasn't been a problem
Yeah,
at all.
I don't foresee it. Yeah, I mean, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Walter?
Sure.
Yes.
Do you still have opportunities for people to sign up, and do you want to give out your information if you do?
Yeah, absolutely. The best way to find more information is to Google Bicycles Battling Cancer Massachusetts, because the URL is quite long and it's off the American Cancer Society. But if you Google that, you should find it pretty quickly.
Yeah, and for this event, does this require any road closures, or can they remain open with police support?
Not in Lunenburg, and really not anywhere. Yeah, we don't do any road closures.
Okay. And typically, how much, I know this is a fundraising event, so how much are you usually able to raise? for
Over
us?
$100,000.
How much?
Over $100,000.
Wow.
Yep, all the riders are basically raising money.
Okay, excellent.
Hopefully, we continue that
Yes.
six-figure achievement.
Then I would entertain a motion if there are no further questions regarding the Bicycles Battling Cancer Ride request for September 25th.
Motion to approve? Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None. Good luck.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 7:15, Building Commissioner regarding the renewal of annual earth removal permits. Everybody's favorite topic.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So on August 3rd, I went out and I took a look at the PJ Keating properties and did a walkthrough, or actually it was a ride-through with 2 of the representatives who are here tonight. And there was no issues to report. Everything was in line with the permit and they're recommended to be renewed. And on August 4th, I went to the 1325 Mass Ave Proctor property, and they're approximately 60% of the way through the work, and I also recommend that one be renewed for the coming year.
Any violations in any of these locations?
No.
Mr. Chair, just bring to your attention the 1325 Mass Ave. There's a request for a change in hours. And that's on their application.
Okay. What are the current hours and what are they looking to change them to?
I believe it's 8 to 4:30. They're requesting 7:30 to 4, is that correct? And in addition, Saturday, 8 to 12, with no trucking.
Have there been any complaints at the site?
No, I have not received any complaints since last year.
Nor have I.
I personally have no problem with the hour changes. When they're saying no trucking, then what's going to happen on Saturday? Sure.
Hi, Dan Proctor, 1529 Mass Ave, along with my wife Jean. Saturday, honestly, is just a great day to kind of like do some grading, consolidate piles, that type of stuff, mostly just earth work. Okay, we don't want to truck on Saturdays. My truck drivers do not work Saturdays, so it really is just that type of stuff. A lot of times it'll just be setting up the transit, putting some grade stakes in, maybe grading a little bit, that type of thing. It's a good day to work because we're not at people's houses working typically on Saturdays. So it just kind of is, a nice advantage to have. I had mentioned to Casey, he said, 60% done. We're actually like 64% done, and I'm really hoping that I can be done a year from now. So when we come next August, we're closing the plan and being done with it. And, that Saturday work would certainly help. The half hour in the morning, honestly, my guys start at 7 o'clock at my other facility. They get their trucks going, that type of stuff. We literally stand around for half an hour because we can't work at the pit on Mass Ave till 8 o'clock. So that half an hour in the morning certainly helps. We'll, lose a half an hour at the end of the day, which is fine. We usually quit at 3:30 anyhow. And honestly, it's another advantage to getting that first round out of the pit before the bus traffic gets heavy with the schools. So that half hour does make a big difference for us.
So the Saturday is just site work, just,
That's correct. So we would not be trucking on Saturdays out of the pit.
yeah,
Yep.
I have no objection to that. I'll open it up to the board if anybody has any issues.
I have a question. General quiet hours, and this is to Mr. Marino, I think you may know the answer to this. General quiet hours as observed by the state?
7.
7? Thank you.
7.
No objection. Do we have any residents though that may, abutters here that may want to speak to?
Were the butters notified of this change request?
They were not.
Somebody answer, sounded like somebody spoke somewhere.
Oh, there's a butter that unmuted themselves on Zoom.
Sure, you can call them.
You can go ahead and speak.
This is Pam Anzaldi and Clifford Smith on 70 Townsend Harbor Road. I guess I'm a little bit surprised. I can certainly understand that Dan would want to finish the project. It was always our understanding that it would be finished by the end of this coming year if the permit were renewed. I certainly can respect that the state might have guidelines that 7 a.m. on is okay. But I think from a residential viewpoint, it is asking a lot to start that early and have the addition of starting that early and working on Saturdays. And again, I certainly understand that there's a want and a need to finish the project. But I do think it's a big ask, and we have not been notified that this was even on the table.
Thank you. When does this have to be renewed by?
By the end of the month, so your next meeting, August 24th.
Well,
If I may, are abutters required to be notified for these permits?
No.
No. I mean, my opinion is I sympathize with the neighbors nearby. There's been work happening near my house this year as well, and it starts pretty early. And so I do understand the disruption. I think that it's, what I'm considering is comparable traffic. And if this is something that's out of the ordinary, 7:30 in the morning. We have buses going around town. We have trucks going around town, going through the town. I know that all of us who've run for office and have stood in the center of town holding signs, that we see those trucks starting at, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, in some cases passing through. So if you're arriving on site at 7:30 and the work begins at 7:30, I know that typically in construction, work hours are 7 to 3:30. I don't think that that's outside of the norm. Saturday, though, I think is understandable that you want to do some work on Saturday. I don't have an objection to Saturday, but I would encourage that time to be closer to 9. Would you have an issue with that?
No, that's fine. We can do that. I mean, honestly, if I'm there at 8 o'clock and we're just setting up transits and that type of stuff, but we won't start the equipment up till 9 o'clock and start doing any of that type of work, is that okay?
I have no issue with that, but I'm one member here tonight.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Like I said, I mean, there is a lot of that type of work where we're just literally looking at the plan, we're doing some layouts, that type of stuff, which is literally just, the guy holding a transit stick, that type of thing. But again, we can start equipment at 9 o'clock. That'll give me 3 hours to get something done. That would be fantastic. Yep.
So I would say that I don't have any objection to what you've submitted without amendment. I think it's fine. I'm kind of leaning to leave it open for a week just to get any comment from abutters, but I'm saying to you right here that I don't see any issue with why this wouldn't be allowed. It's certainly within the normal hours of allowable construction to begin with no complaints that, with anything you've done there. I don't see any reason why I would deny it, but I feel like for myself, I'll leave it open. If somebody wants to try to make a compelling argument, it would have to be rather compelling for me to not approve it.
Mr. Proctor, what equipment are you running on site?
So we have an excavator, a bulldozer, loader, front-end loader,
Yep.
moving material. Most of the work that would happen on Saturdays, honestly, would be excavator and bulldozer, which is, like I said, grading off some loam, getting it ready for, hydro
I mean, that's
seeding.
primarily what you're using every day when you're loading the
That's
trucks. is
correct,
your
exactly.
excavator.
There's no new equipment coming in or anything like that.
So you're not using hoe rams or anything like that, or anything that's making an impact and something like that? It's
That's
just that-
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I have no objection.
None here. No objection.
Well, I would entertain a motion then. One way or another, would anybody like to keep it open, or would we like to vote on it tonight? From what I'm hearing, it sounds like the board is ready to vote on it tonight.
Yeah, I think I'm ready to vote on it tonight, but at the same time, I do want to provide that opportunity to the neighbors to come forward and have, present that compelling argument. I think it's pretty clear tonight, what we're hearing, though, is that it sounds like 4 members are in agreement of 7:30 to 4, that's not outside the norm, and that on a Saturday, I'm at least asking for 9. You seem amenable to that, but I know the remaining members of the board are saying that they're also okay with what you're proposing. So to the residents who may be home, I would encourage you to come next week, and perhaps we can have a discussion then about any of those compelling concerns. But again,
Well, we haven't voted on that, that's, I mean,
but I would encourage that we vote on this next week.
I support that as well. I think, give people an opportunity to say their piece, but, yeah.
okay. Again, with the caveat that I just said, that it would have to be a compelling argument against it, I'm certainly inclined to approve it, but I will allow 1 week, and we'll just vote on it next week for this one.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So that one aside, do we have the remaining, can we vote on these from the Keating ones?
Yes.
Unless there's an objection by the board, I will go through just naming the addresses of each of these 6 permits, and then we'll vote on en masse.
That's fine.
So we have the PJ Keating Company at 998 Reservoir Road. Parcel 1, 165 acres more or less, lying northerly of Leominster Shirley Road and westerly of Reservoir Road on both sides of the Boston Main Railroad. Also 998 Reservoir Road. This is on the westerly side of Fort Pond Road, adjacent to Lancaster Town Line, containing 8.77 acres more or less of land owned by Mildred Marble and leased to the applicant. Parcel 4, 6.8 acres more or less, lying southerly of Leominster Shirley Road and westerly of Fort Pond Road, and at the southeasterly side of Leominster Shirley Road and easterly of the Boston and Main Railroad near Lancaster Town Line, containing 30 acres more or less owned by the applicant. Also 998 Reservoir Road, well, that's the address of them. So this parcel is in the southeast corner of Lunenburg, bordered on the north by Leominster Shirley Road and on the east by the Shirley Town Line, being the same parcel of land formerly known as the Edward Credit, owned by Edward Credit, and containing 28 acres more or less. In the very southeast corner of Lunenburg, permit is for 57 acres more or less of an 84 acre parcel formerly owned by Edward Credit. Parcel 111, which is 180 acres more or less, lying southerly of Leominster Shirley Road and easterly of Fort Pond Road. And lastly, parcel 11, 170 acres more or less, lying northerly of Leominster Shirley Road and easterly of Reservoir Road on both sides of the Boston and Maine Railroad and both sides of Round Road. So I would entertain a motion with these 6 permit renewals, earth removal permit renewals.
What's the date of expiration for them?
These would be for 1 year, I believe. So August 31st of 2022, they all expire.
I move,
Or up for renewal, I should say.
I move to renew the 6 permits to PJ Keating as stated tonight to expire at the end of August 2022.
Second.
Any further discussion? I want to thank the building commissioner for all their work and all the inspections. And without further ado, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. These require our signature, or just my signature? Looks like just me. All right, I'll do them at the end of the meeting. Okay, so please put the Proctor renewal on for next week. 7:30, still ahead of time, all right. Meeting with Valerio Romano of Uma Flowers to discuss holding a community meeting and a host community agreement for adult retail cannabis license.
I believe Mr. Romano is prepared to pay right now.
Ah,
That's a strong word.
It
I
happens.
especially appreciate the word incapacitated. All right.
Do we want to do the interview and?
Sure. All right, while we're waiting, let's do the interview and joint appointment with the Board of Assessors for the vacant assessor seat. We have Kevin Fish of 70 Eastern Ave.
Good evening.
Mr. Letard,
I'm Rich Letard, Chairman of the Board
please, Mr. Fish.
It's Kevin. We don't have Christine wasn't able to show up tonight, so I discussed it with Heather earlier. We'd like to, I have Kevin come on the Board of Assessors, and we need your approval at this point because there was no election. So
Yeah, so this is filling the vacancy because it's an elected body. It's a joint appointment with the Board of Assessors and the Select Board.
correct.
So we all have Mr. Fish's application here. So please tell us about yourself.
So, my name's Kevin Fish. I've lived in the community since 1983. I guess just the way to put it is I felt like it was time to give back to the community in some way that I think I can help. He was acquainted with my father because he volunteers at the Restore It store where my father also volunteers, and he approached me with the possibility of joining the committee, and it seemed like an interesting opportunity for me because, I mean, I don't have background in assessing per se, but I do have some background in finance and so on and so forth, having a degree in accounting and the like. So I think it's something that I can learn, and I think I can help with that aspect of things.
Excellent. Mr. Letard, you and the other member of your board have met and interviewed Mr. Fish already?
Yes, we have.
Okay. Anybody from the board have any questions?
No.
No.
Well, I want to thank you for coming forward, and I know you'll be in good hands with Mr. Letard as chair and the other member. Yeah, it's a good place. The tax assessing is an interesting field and an interesting part of the financial picture of the town, so.
Yeah, he wants to do your house first.
You know, that's fine with me. I have nothing to hide. Wow. Note to self. Anyway, I appreciate you, putting your name in and offering your services here. And if no one has any further questions or comments, I will say that I would entertain a motion regarding appointing Mr. Kevin Fish of 70 Eastern Ave to the Board of Assessors.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And it's a roll call vote here, so Mr. Marino,
Aye.
Mr. Dwyer.
Aye.
Mr. Jeffries.
Aye.
Mr. Letarte.
Aye.
And an aye for me.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations. You should go to the town clerk's office at your earliest convenience before the next meeting of the Board of Assessors, get sworn in, and then you're all set. Obviously, Mr. Letarte has your email address, and he will alert you to the next meeting.
Okay.
It's nice to fill off another board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Okay, let's go back to Mr. Romano. Are you here now? All right. So we're going to meet with you regarding Uma Flowers to discuss holding a community meeting and a host community agreement for the adult retail cannabis license.
Good, how are you?
Thank you so much, Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to meet with the board again. We had a great revelation since last time we were here, and then we cleared up the zoning issue by having a more detailed assessor draw the measurement, and it looks like we're clear. Mr. Burlingame confirmed that via an email, and we've submitted that. And then, so pleased to say that I'm joined, again, Valerio Romano with VGR Law Firm. I'm joined by Priyanka and Tejal Patel, the founders of Uma Flowers. And so I guess sort of the next fundamental step for us is the host community agreement. That's where it's, the host community agreement is almost, it's not, we still need special permit from the planning board, right? It's not really a local license, but it's sort of like the stamp, you can move forward with the process. And so that will give us sort of the sense of comfort that we can go ahead and spend money on engineering and architecture and submit a quality and detailed special permit application. As part of that, and I know the interest to the board this evening also was to discuss the community outreach meeting. The community outreach meeting with the Cannabis Control Commission is something that everybody's required to do. They've essentially lifted the requirement from 40A, notify abutters and abutters to abutters within 300 feet. There's a notice period. You do it in the local publication also. And so we'll of course do that. We've done it in Waltham, Pepperell, and Athol already. So it's something that we're familiar with. And right now, as far as the community outreach meeting, I know Priyanka and Tejal have some potential dates as well. Right now, the governor's order that the Cannabis Control Commission relied on for virtual community outreach meetings actually expires September 1st. So we wouldn't, under the current state of what the commission's put forward, it would definitely be in person. And the town manager has graciously offered to allow us to do it here, which would be perfect for us. But should the Cannabis Control Commission extend that September 1st deadline, which I kind of feel like they might, given what's going on with the pandemic, then we probably opt to do it virtually just for safety and convenience for everybody. But right now, it's in person because we wouldn't be able to notice it before September 1st anyway, and we want to make sure that the residents of Lunenburg have enough time. So that's sort of the two things. I submitted a draft host community agreement, which,
have that,
yep, and so that, the 3% that's authorized under the statute, offering the max, so preferential local hiring, tried to build the other bells and whistles into it. I know you're still waiting on town council's review for that, so with that being said, those are the two issues, but we'd love to move the process forward and see what we can do for those community agreement, and certainly notice the community outreach meeting as well.
Are you against doing a hybrid meeting like we're doing here with in-person and Zoom?
Not at all. We would absolutely be happy to do it.
Because then we could satisfy anybody's, anxiety and cautious level.
Yeah, we'd be happy to do it, of course.
So the host community agreement, of course, we have the draft, and we'll be reviewing that with our town council, with town manager, et cetera. So there's not much to talk about that right now, except that we're in receipt of it. And as far as the outreach meeting, all we ask is that we've asked other people is that you give us enough warning, enough notification, so anybody who's interested, so that would be no less than 3 weeks, but hopefully at least a month in advance, so that we would be able to advertise it, and nobody can say, hey, it wasn't there. We'll put it on our website. We'll talk about it at this meeting. Maybe we'll have other boards at their televised meetings mention it as well, so the word will get out there.
So based on an email from Ms. Lemieux, I think we've come with some dates that are at least 4 weeks out. So that will give everybody the opportunity to do that. And Priyanka, if you wanted to tell us what they are. But back to the host community agreement for a moment. Let me just touch on one last thing, if that's all right. Sorry.
I just want to tell you, September 21st or 22nd.
September 21st or 22nd? There we go.
It's not there.
Okay.
Those were a couple options that...
It's the outreach, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, of course. Those are the couple options that Priyanka, just September 21st or 22nd, if those would give, it seems like they're, more than 4 weeks out. If those give, adequate time for the town, they would work for our group. And we would do the notifications that are required by the regulations for the commission and by the statute. And then we would also welcome any further notice that the town puts out via the website, mentioning it at these meetings as well. I want to touch on one other thing with the host community agreement. So what I sent was just sort of like a template draft. If there's other aspects of it that the select board wants, we're of course amenable, right? It's not like we drew a line in the sand or something with it. That was just what I felt, sort of a template from doing this in tons of cities and towns all over. But different town councils have different, ways of negotiating them. I don't know if there's a lot of negotiation. It's pretty much, from our perspective, we don't have a ton of leverage, particularly with the new Maderi case. So, we're kind of like, let's do it, so.
No, and we've had people apply that we've, again, had to rescind the application, but we've gone through the whole several phases with the host community, agreement. So we're certainly familiar with them, so I don't think it would be an arduous.
I don't think so either. And if you have one that you'd already negotiated with your town council that another proposed marijuana retailer executed, I can say with fair amount of certainty that we'd be willing to execute the same one. So however you want to approach it, we'd be happy
I'm not sure the other one was ever executed.
It was not.
Right. Okay. But it was prepared, and again, they rescinded their application because of...
There was zoning issue.
Right.
I watched that zoning board of appeal meeting for the variance. Yeah.
So I'm working with town council to create a foundation, HCA, so we can have consistency going forward with any other applications, as well as, so we wouldn't go through that full process of negotiating it until after the host community, the community outreach meeting.
Okay.
Because things may come up during that meeting that you may want to address.
Right, which makes sense.
Okay, so we'll, so I guess definitely let's hop on those dates as soon as possible, because we would certainly look for that sort of sense of comfort should the select board award a host community agreement. That would really make us feel comfortable, in consummating the purchase of the property and paying for engineering and architecture and everything else. So, yeah.
Of the two dates, I mean, one of them is it's Tuesday and Wednesday, so we have our meetings here on Tuesday. So if the board is going to be involved, I'd probably prefer it not to be on the day the board is meeting, so we could attend. And I wouldn't want that meeting to be part of the board meeting, because then it would take away time from our agenda.
Complicates things, yeah. Muddies the water.
So I would tend toward the 22nd personally, but,
What about the following week, the 28th? That Tuesday is open.
well, that's fine with me. I mean, because we
I
don't
mean,
have,
another week.
we don't have we don't have a meeting on the last Tuesday of the month.
I mean, look, of course, we'd like to do it as soon as possible. So unless there's, but, I'm not going to, if the board has a specific preference, I'm not going to complain, but the 22nd would certainly be ideal for us, just so we can move forward to I look at the community outreach meeting as definitely an opportunity to engage the community, but when we do special permit granting authority being the planning board, we have to do the exact same thing again, right? And so there's like a lot of opportunity, and at that point is actually when we have a full set of like traffic, parking, building plan, like everything is like there, and that's when you really engage in sort of more of the substance of the application. Sure. The community outreach meeting certainly is to inform the community about it, engage, discuss it, respond to questions, let them meet the team. There's also really kind of a box you have to check on the Cannabis Control Commission application, because we're going to go ahead and do it all again 2 months after that, or whatever it is, when we prepare the special.
All right, so as we follow what the state laws require.
Of course.
I mean, since it's called a community outreach, I'd like to reach as much of the community as we can. So while I understand your points that it's going to go over again, it's somewhere between just checking the box, which I think is a little more cavalier than we want, and having a full in-depth look at every single plan that you have, which you won't even have at the time. So there's something in the middle. So that's why we want to give somebody enough leeway to, schedule their time to be here.
So if the 22nd works for the board.
I'd prefer the following week that you proposed. That works better for me. I'm not available the 22nd. Mm-hmm. I do have a question, though.
Well, hold on, but let's not pile up different things at the same time. Do we want to discuss this, or do we want to come up? I'm fine with the 28th, too, so it doesn't matter to me. But if they're fine with the 28th.
They're checking their calendars.
Yep. Go ahead, you can ask your question while they're looking at the calendar, Mr. Jeffries.
So the last retailer who withdrew their application, they did community outreach, and from what I recall, their outreach meetings were exceptionally poorly attended.
Scantily attended. I try to use a word that's more positive.
Not so pejorative. Yeah.
Poorly attended, I mean.
Well advertised, though.
Yes, well advertised, yes.
Based on that, I don't really have the 28th is fine with me, and the 22nd is fine with me. I don't think we're going to get a lot of attendance.
To me, it doesn't matter either, so.
Doesn't matter to me.
I mean,
there's three no matters, so if you want to do it at the 22nd, I'm assuming you would have no objection to it being recorded.
Of course not. We have to.
So then, Mr. Jeffries, you can,
I don't want to exclude Mr. Jeffries, right? So if Mr. Jeffries would like to participate, and look, we'd rather have the 22nd, but if the 28th works better, I think 1 week's not going to kill us. We want to make sure to involve the board and everybody the best we can. So it's up to you.
Sewer commission usually would have their.
Right, but we can put
yeah.
it, we can have another location. We could have it at the school if we wanted, right? Doesn't matter where the location is.
I think it would be more difficult to have it at the school. With scheduling and their mask mandate.
It shouldn't be this difficult to schedule a meeting that literally less than 5 people are going to attend.
What I found is that it's competitors that show up to these things. It's very infrequently concerned townsfolk. Sort of the sky is falling from cannabis ended a couple years ago, and now it's really other people who want to cite marijuana businesses, cannabis businesses in the area that show up to them.
We didn't even drum up that last time.
You didn't? Okay.
All right, we'll get back to you on the date.
Whether it's the 22nd or 20th, you and I can communicate via email about that?
Yep.
Okay.
Does anybody have a problem leaving it up to the town manager to decide between those two dates, depending on availability? Okay. Mr. Jeffries, you had a question?
Yeah. So do you have any more information other than that really rough kind of property outline that you're going to go over at this meeting?
For this meeting right now?
No, for today or for the meeting that will happen at the end of September?
So the community outreach meeting, as far as the survey with the greater than 250 feet, after receiving a response from Mr. Burlingame, I just sort of, internally anyway, thought, okay, well, that issue is put aside. So I didn't, but I can prepare something additional. We have that survey that was done, which was specific measurement. I mean, but after Mr. Burlingame says this does change my opinion and you are properly zoned via that correspondence, I sort of put that issue to bed. But I'd be happy to prepare anything anything further that you or any member of the board or any stakeholder in town wants to see. As far as like really complex and expensive engineering, like I said, that's typically done after a host community agreement, is awarded, because like I said, the host community agreement is just like a stamp, keep applying, right? We have to make it through special permit and site plan review, right? So, but I would be happy to prepare anything that you think is appropriate, Mr. Jeffries.
Yeah, I mean, I think that some of the questions that I expect some people, really basic that don't require engineering are kind of a rough idea of what this will look like. If you can kind of speak to what your process is, I mean, we know what the state laws are, but if you can kind of speak to what the processes will be for people who will show up, I imagine the abutters will want to know what the impact to them is going to be. So kind of like a rough overview of, hey, this is where the parking area is going to be. When people need to come in, this is the process and the flow of people in and out of the property. I think that's probably what is pressing. I don't know if that requires complex engineering, but
No,
it requires something visual for people to see.
We'd be happy to do that, and we will prepare something along those lines for the community outreach meeting. And if you'd like, I can go into it some now. But we will certainly prepare something for the community outreach meeting.
I'm assuming Uma Flowers has other establishments?
So we're about to be open. We're waiting for final inspection from the commission for Pepperell. It's constructed. We're ready to go. We've been through all of this. We're just with final inspection. Then we'll get the final vote from the commission, and then a couple days later they come and do like a retail ready inspection. But we should be open in Pepperell within a matter of weeks. And then Athol, we're under construction for cultivation and product manufacturing. And then we're working diligently in Waltham, which is, it's quite a project on its own.
Right. So by that time, to Mr. Jeffrey's point, you'll have a process, if not already settled in place, but pretty much in place at that point.
Oh, yeah. I've opened a bunch of these. We have other folks on the team that have participated in opening a bunch of these. So we can absolutely discuss, and there's already a parking lot there. We know what structure we're using. We'll be able to talk through all like the fundamental issues. And so there's a couple things you have to talk about. There's a checklist from the Commission for Community Outreach. One of the things is security. So we'll talk about, queuing and people going in and out, and we'll talk about, there's nuisance. So we'll talk about, the fact that there's no on-site consumption and what we do for smell. It's retail only. So 99% of everything's going to be pre-packaged when it comes. We'll go through these issues to give people an understanding of what we propose to do. And, I take that direction well, and there is a list of things that you have to do from the commission, and for the most part, they overlap with what you're speaking of, Mr. Jeffries. The last thing, if I might, and I don't know if everybody had a chance to see it, but I think it's worth mentioning. Let me just grab it. Excuse me. Is your state senator issued a letter of support for our application, and I brought some copies if you'd like them, but if you've already seen them.
We got an email to us.
Okay, that's great. So I think it's worth mentioning. It's actually, the wording of this letter is really great. It's actually, instead of, some sort of equivocation or, a non-opposition, it's strong support of Uma Flowers, a minority and women-owned cannabis company. So I just really appreciated that. You don't always get that from, state senators, but that really strong support. So it's worth reiterating because it just came in.
Yes, I was going to mention it, so you have beat me to the punch, which is good. But yes, Senator Cronin, who of course is from Lunenburg, offered a letter of strong support to conduct business here, recognizing that it's not only minority-owned, but a woman-owned cannabis company. And then he goes over the projected sales and revenue of the 3%, so.
Yeah, it's 3. So the reason that the number's a little funky is because we're hoping, if everything goes well, to also cite medical here. And so the medical isn't subject to the 3% local option tax. It's only the host community agreement 3%. So it's really 6 points off the top. Mm-hmm. But for medical, you only get 3. But medical's probably only be about 10 to 20% of our business. So that's the numbers sort of turn out that way. Yeah.
No, I think it's excellent. We will get back to you with the date and take it to the next step. And from that community outreach, then, as the town manager said, we will then focus on the host community agreement.
Great.
And then you'll be on your way to the planning board.
Sounds great. I really appreciate the board's time. Yes?
Follow-up question.
Oh, follow-up question.
Yeah. So, first, I appreciate you reaching out to Senator Cronin. He's an excellent person to work with. I'd like to hear about, I'd like to know more about your engagement so far with the neighbors, the people who will live around the property, and also with the police department in terms of what your tentative security plan is, if any.
So far, and I don't know, Mr. Donnelly, how much you've had conversations with your neighbors. I know we were speaking with the one neighbor where we had the setback issue. But that's really, as we get further along, and that's what this community outreach meeting is for, is to engage the neighbors. So that will be sort of like the first true engagement. Part of your zoning bylaw requires us to submit a thorough security plan to your police department, and we won't get approved for our special permit unless they sign off. So that will be another step that we absolutely have to take. Given the fact that we only recently resolved the zoning issue, and it's sort of the first hearing about that, since then, we haven't had further significant interactions with the community, but that's exactly why, we're going to notice it. We're going to send all the abutters and abutters. We're going to publish it, in 300 feet, a notice. We're going to publish it in the local paper. You guys are going to talk about it. It's going to go on your website. It will go on our website as well, on the Uma Flowers site. So we'll invite everybody actively to participate in it. And that's sort of what the purpose of that meeting is. When the legislators rewrote the law, the ballot initiative that I participated in drafting, and they added this community outreach meeting, I'm like, this is crazy. We're already doing this with special permit. It's already, in 40A. But this is exactly why they did it, so that a group wouldn't come sort of sneak into a town and it would get fully noticed. So that's essentially what we're looking forward to doing on either the 22nd or the 28th.
Well, it's even though that may be a requirement, I think that the last time we met, that what we heard from some abutters was that they had no idea about this until they happened to go to the town website and look at the agenda. And I think that there was, while not an overt ask, I think that it was kind of a general kind of expectation that there would be some initiative to kind of do some outreach to the neighbors as they will be the most affected. So I do understand what you said, that you guys haven't really done any of that outreach. So, what concerns me, and I'll just say what it is
Please.
I don't have a problem with the business that you're looking to do. I was just in Colorado. This is like really right next to everyone's homes. No one seems to mind. It's not a big deal. So I don't object to the industry. I don't object to being in Lunenburg. What my concern is that a neighbor is going to wake up one day, and if they aren't paying attention to the town website, be like, wait a minute, there's a pot thing going in next to me. And while they may not object to the business, may not have serious concerns, there may be some contribution that they may want to make. And so I think it's helpful always to reach out to the people who are going to be directly affected by the business. And again, in the last meeting, as you may recall, I do think that there's a lot of similarity between living next to a liquor store or a bar and this, and I don't see it as being all that different. So I'm not, again, coming from a position of opposition as much as just, I think, what I expect for courtesy when it comes to the residents in town.
I hear you. So the neighbors are going to be notified more than just the town website, right? We're going to do mailings to all of them.
I understand.
Yeah.
But that's going to happen.
Yeah.
My comment was just about what's happened so far.
Yeah, because we've just recently sort of overcome the zoning issue, which was going to be a really fundamental impediment. We just hadn't taken that extra step beyond that neighbor that's there. The other residential property that's on the land, we're buying the whole thing. But of course, we welcome the opportunity. I mean, I'll leave a stack of business cards. I'll do whatever I can to communicate with anybody in the community about the issue. I have, stack of studies if people are interested in that sort of thing. I'd love to change the chief's mind. So I mean, I'm really interested in engaging. So I don't know exactly the forum for doing it other than that community outreach meeting. Because we're going to do all the different forms of notification, and then we're going to have that meeting long before we get to the special permit hearing, and then we're going to do it all again then as well. And it seems like we're going to come back here at least one more time to discuss host community agreements. Or host community agreement. So
The 300-foot abutters notification is before the host, the community outreach,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
So they're going to know well in advance, but the first public meeting.
And
other than
it's
us
also
requesting
by
them.
local publication as well, right? So it's not just us sending them a letter, they might not open it. What is this? It's like, we think it's junk mail or something, you know? We obviously won't make it look like that, but whatever, there's so many different ways they get it, right? Our website, your website, local publication, and a direct mailing as well. And then that really actually is going to happen at least twice, right? Because we're going to do special permit site plan review as well. And then we're going to keep coming back here, presumably at least one more time for the host community agreement. So we're, anything specific that we can do, we'll do it. But we're definitely not trying to fly under the radar here. I mean, so I would love to engage further, and we will. I definitely understand your point. You don't want this to sort of sneak up on people at the last second, and then it actually holds us up too. You know, if somebody says, "Well, I never got that notice," right? And then they, even though I might have the green return receipt from the post office, they could still hold up our special permit saying they never got noticed. You know, we certainly it behooves us to do as much engagement as possible, and it's a point well taken.
Thank you.
Thank you, really.
Any other questions? No. If you're trying to fly under the radar, you're doing a very bad job, by the way. So.
I'm not trying to fly under the radar.
I think it's also, everyone makes a decision tactically on how to go forward. And, some tactics are, let's just focus on the regulatory people who approve it, and other tactics are, let's focus on the people who will be the biggest opposition, and let's try to win them over first and mitigate their concerns if reasonable before approaching. And it's just a tactical decision that's up to you and your client to make. It's not our decision to make. So it's just a comment.
And I appreciate it. Truthfully, if I thought that I could actually, somebody who's fundamentally opposed to this use, I've never changed any of their minds. In all the years I've been doing this and the thousands of conversations I've had about this with individuals and boards and huge groups of people, somebody who's really just fundamentally opposed to the use, I've never changed their mind. I've certainly turned rooms of people around who were skeptical, right? But somebody who's just against it, yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time here. We look forward to setting the date for the community outreach the meeting, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you to the chair and members of the board. I appreciate your time tonight, and we'll exchange emails.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Retirement of head accounting clerk Lynn Claft.
Public comment for that?
Sure. I wasn't going to because it's not really part of the agenda item, but go ahead if you would like to. Just state your name and address before you start.
Ray Moran, 48 Youngs Road. I'm the abutter that's in question.
Okay.
While they may not have tried tactics and stuff, I did see a surveyor out there doing surveying. There's not even one mark on the ground whatsoever to see where the property lines have been that they surveyed. So where they came up from the GIS, I understand GISs vary in footage, they can be off. The GIS shows 218 feet. They supposedly now have 267. If that's fine, that's what it is. I'm not opposed to that. My concern is there's not even a mark on the ground. There's no pins in the ground, no nothing as to where the 267 came in. So I'm concerned with the fact of whether it be a wise comment last time about if we needed a couple extra feet, we would find it somewhere. I don't want to go and have to pay for a survey at a later point in time to find out that, hey, it's really not the 250 feet, because with surveyor's marks, unless there's pins set, it's just their professional opinion as to where the property lines are. So I'd like to see some, at least pins in the ground for showing where the 267 is, and then it is what it is.
Okay. Have we gotten a report back from Mr. Burlingame on this?
An email was sent.
I saw the email, but I mean...
And none of that I was notified about the second time either. Other than the
But
fact
it wouldn't
that
necessarily be a notification that the building commissioner is looking at it.
Right.
But that's a different story. The thing is, what did he base his decision on? We're going to want to know that.
Based on the survey that was provided,
Okay.
which was in the Google Drive.
I spent the better part of half hour this afternoon looking for pins, marks, There's no spray paint marks, there's no flags, there's no pins that I noticed whatsoever, which is normally done when a site is surveyed.
So my understanding is that you don't believe that it meets the setback.
I'm not saying that it's not necessarily, but I don't see where I should have to go and pay a separate surveyor, especially where this surveyor was from out of town somewhere, to go to make sure that, my concern is going down the road, if I go and have it surveyed, once I go to have the property rented, if now all of a sudden they find out, oh, hey, well, it's not the 250, now am I not in compliance?
Understand your point. So we're going to have to address this finally at some point.
The other thing is where we have gone through this before with, not with this type of property, but with Tri-Town, there was certain stipulations that needed to be met. No left turn going out onto Young's Road, heading up the hill, stuff like that. There was supposed to be sidewalks put in. Young's Road's a narrow section of road. There's no sidewalks going from there down. And from what I was told in the past, the sign is not a legal street sign, the no left turn coming out of Tri-Town, so they can't do anything with enforcing it going up the street. So all day long, there's cars turning left out of Tri-Town and going up the road, which was one of the stipulations originally to the project, that all the traffic was going to go out to Summer Street. So those are some of the things that I'd be concerned of prior to the host agreement being agreed upon.
I guess I'm not understanding the Tri-Town tie-in.
Well, those are things that they can't enforce now that are done in the past that were supposed to be stipulations to start with. So I would assume the fact that there's 200 and something apartments at Tri-Town, some of these people are also going to be going down the street.
Okay.
There's no sidewalks. It's already a narrow stretch of road to start with there. Some of the fact of them getting the host agreement before they have the plans of what the property is going to look like and the surrounding area would be some of my concerns, because from the impression I got the last time, and I could be wrong, once the host agreement's signed, the town's locked into allowing it.
No, that goes through the whole, like the stipulations that you're saying about sidewalks and all the things to
Right.
do with the site would all be part of the planning board review, which will be extensive.
Right, but that would all be done at a later point past, once they've already had their host agreement allowing them
But the
to do
host
it.
agreement doesn't give them permission to open a site. It gives them the okay that the town is going to allow it to go forward to the next phase, which
Right.
is the permitting, special permitting phase.
Right, with the state.
Right.
Okay.
Doesn't mean they're ready to get a license. It's very possible that lots of different stipulations are going to happen at the planning board level
Yep.
when they have the site review.
Okay,
So,
All
so
right.
those particular things will be addressed then.
all right.
I think it's a necessary first step, is how I'm reading what you're saying. And I think this ties into my previous comment about, my opinion as a selectman is that this communication is something that could happen between you and the applicant. And we're here instead hearing it, and I'm sure I see the lawyer taking notes, so that means that it's new information, or at least it's good information. And what I urge is that these conversations happen prior to coming to the board. I'm not in favor, I'm not opposed to what's being proposed. However, I am opposed to us taking time tonight to kind of work through these things that I think we can work through, can be worked through without us being here.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have much to contribute to the conversation about how to mitigate neighbor concerns.
Right.
And that just ties into my previous point about strategy and tactics. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
Briefly through the chair.
1 second.
Oh, yes, of course.
I just want to ask if there's any other public comment from anybody. Go ahead.
Just very briefly through the
Up at the mic, please. Up at the mic, please.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
As far as the engineering company that did the survey, I mean, we've been working with them. They're, as far as we know, they're a very reputable company. This is what they do. So I'll try to figure out, I'll speak with the engineer and I'll get some more detail. After the last hearing, I did give my business cards to the abutters so that we could engage in this, right? I'm not trying to, not communicate, and I'll do that again today. So to Mr. Jeffrey's point, I'll write down my cell phone number on the back. They can call me anytime. I'll put them in touch directly with our engineer if they'd like, so they could figure out the methodology of how the 267 was arrived at. And then, as the chair said, at special permit, public safety, access, parking, traffic, all that stuff, which includes an analysis of sidewalks, that's when all that stuff will come up. But, it didn't occur to me to second guess the 267 feet, but I will certainly respond to any calls, any emails, and also put you in touch with whoever did the survey. I know the engineer that we use, but I think he subcontracts out the people that do the survey or part of his company. It's not Ian specifically who came out here and measured it. And we can talk about the methodology to.
Yeah, there's going to need to, because this has been in discrepancy, and then you've come with this engineered thing, it's going to need to be put to bed by provable data. That's the important part.
That's what I thought that survey was, but I'm just,
So again, this is the first time I'm hearing the objection, but the objection, me not being a surveyor.
Yeah, me neither.
We're gonna need to talk to the building commissioner, and, it's okay to look at other people's, work and say that's okay, but if there's a question about, well, how does the town verify, except that we're taking it at face value? I don't know what the answer to that is, but I know we have to come to it.
I hear you, Mr. Chairman, and we will reach out to the engineer to lock that down even further, because I understand the concern given the back and forth previously, so I get it. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
For being so understanding.
I'm sorry?
So thank you for being so understanding.
Okay, retirement of head accounting clerk Lynn Claft, effective October 31st, 2021. Madam Town Manager.
That's just to notify the board that I was notified by the finance director that Lynn Claft will be retiring at the end of October. So that will be another position we'll be advertising shortly.
We'll have more than ample opportunity before then and now, but I will say Lynn has been an excellent employee of the town for many, many years. And while I'm sorry to see her go, I know that everybody deserves a good retirement. I'm sure some members of this board maybe even feel that way.
Agreed wholeheartedly. Not about the retirement
As the youngest
part,
person on this board.
just about Lynn's contributions to the town.
No, yeah, I appreciate it. Town Manager report.
I'll start with the existing vacancies on boards and committees. The Architectural Preservation District Commission has 2 vacancies, 1 citizen at large and 1 representative from the Historical Commission. The Bylaw Review Committee has 1 vacancy. Capital Planning Committee, there is 1 vacancy for the citizen at large that is appointed by the town moderator. The Commissioner of Trust Funds, there are 2 vacancies, which is a joint appointment between the Commissioner of Trust Funds and the Select Board until the next annual town election. The Economic Development Committee has vacancies, 1 person recommended by the Open Space Committee, 1 citizen at large, and 1 ex officio member that is a business owner. The Housing Authority has 1 position to be held by a tenant at Pearl Brook Apartments. That will be coming up next week, on our agenda next week. The Senior Work-Off Program Committee has 1 vacancy, and there's 1 associate vacancy on the Zoning Board of Appeals. Interested parties can obtain application forms on the town website and return those completed forms to the Select Board's office. Listing of the current employment opportunities with the town. So this is a plug for anyone that wishes to apply for these positions. We are advertising for a digital services staff librarian, which is a part-time benefited position, principal assessor position, which is full-time, Veterans Service Agent, which is a part-time non-benefited position, Temporary Recreation Director, which is a part-time non-benefited position, Facilities Custodian, which is a full-time position, Assistant to the Sewer Business Manager, which is a part-time non-benefited position. We have 1 remaining seasonal cemetery laborer position, which is 40 hours approximately during the summer, this period of time, but is considered non-benefited, and public access videographer, which is a part-time non-benefited position as well. More information on each of these positions can be found on within the job postings, which are located on the town website. I was notified today by our principal assessor, Sue Byrne, that she'll be moving up her retirement date from November 30th to September 23rd. We will be conducting interviews for this position this week in the hopes of hiring someone that can be begin before Sue departs. The assistant town manager was notified today that one of the board committee clerks, Kristen Levine, that was previously appointed, has resigned as she has accepted another position. We will be reposting this position and this is a clerk for the Parks Commission, Capital Planning, Stormwater Task Force, and the Economic Development Committee. Update on requests for proposals. Today was the deadline for the request for proposals for the landscape architect services for 30 School Street, and we did not receive any proposals. The assistant town manager reached out to all the firms that took out the RFP to find out the reason why they did not submit a proposal. The primary reasons given were that firms didn't feel they could meet the timeline of the deliverables as set forth in the RFP, that the $30,000 design fee was not sufficient for the scope of work. So as outlined, it was design, engineering, and construction documents as set forth in tasks. And it would be difficult to provide a figure for construction documents before knowing the construction budget and what was to be built. Another comment was that the inclusion of an ADA restroom and bandstand area would require a minimum of 3 additional subconsultants, architect, MEP, and structural engineers. And most said they would be interested in bidding if these concerns were addressed.
Did they indicate what they felt was a reasonable fee?
No. They indicated that usually the fee is 10% of your construction costs, but at this point, we don't know our construction costs.
So obviously, we have not written exactly what we're looking for, because I think, all right, we'll have to go back and revisit this, obviously.
My initial recommendation would be to remove that task 3 and address, the board's going to have to address the timeline now, because that seems to be the real issue. So our timeline was in the hopes of getting this done for the special town meeting.
Okay, well, we can extend that, that's no problem.
That's going to have to be extended.
What was task 3 again?
Task 3 was more design, development, and getting it to point of construction documents.
Okay. That's what I mean. I understand what construction documents mean in that term, and I think what we were looking for was really more design and basic engineering ideas that would be taken if we liked what we saw in the town, like what they saw. Take it to construction documents. I wasn't expecting final drawings for something, and I realize now as I see this that was just bad wording on our part. But
well, that was clarified. We did an addendum because that was a question that was posed, and so in the addendum, we clearly stated that is why the price proposal sheet and the task were separated out, because we would only be proceeding with what the town has budgeted for. So that was clearly stated. But I can't help.
how many people took out the RFP?
I would have to ask the assistant town manager, but
Because I mean, if
There
we're
were a
getting a
number.
survey of 2 people or a survey of 7 companies, that would be a difference.
no, I think there were at least 10.
Okay. So, and were these primary reasons given in order of,
Importance?
or the
No.
popular, or the number of votes?
No.
Okay.
The timeline was definitely a consistent theme. I guess it is almost in order, and the fee.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're going to have to put that on an agenda to find out what to do with that.
An update on the Cowdrey property survey of boundaries on Townsend Harbor Road and Woodland Drive. As a follow-up to the July 13th meeting on the Conservation Commission requesting the boundary between the Cowdrey Conservation Property and 192 Townsend Harbor Road to be surveyed, to rectify a possible encroachment, and the identification of other possible encroachments onto the Cowdrey property from another property on Townsend Harbor Road and Woodland Drive. The DPW director sought an estimate for the survey costs. We received an estimate of $6,500 to perform a partial boundary survey of the 3 possible encroachment boundaries, and for an additional $1,500, the property lines could be staked in the encroachment areas. I've notified the Conservation Commission chairman and the agent, and this will be an agenda topic for next Tuesday.
Any questions about that? Okay.
In other meetings, events, and announcements, Lunenburg Farmers Market is continuing to hold their farmers market every Sunday till October 10th, 10 a.m. until 12:30 p.m.
Okay. Any questions on any part of the town manager report?
No questions here?
None.
Okay. Current business, we have to vote on the town manager contract. And I'll have to find out what I'm looking for. One. There we go, okay. So, just in summary, before we vote on it, these are the terms of the new agreement that the board has negotiated and will vote on tonight. It is another 3-year term. We have considered the town manager's request to pay out a portion of the vacation days if they are not used. So while we encourage the use of all vacation days as vacation, we have agreed to pay up to 5 vacation days if there are more, equal or more than that at the end of the year, but capped at 5 vacation days. The termination and severance pay has been increased from 2 months to 4 months, as we all felt that it was a reasonable request, given that it would take at least that amount of time, if not more, to secure another job in case of termination. We have agreed to offer 4% of the base salary to a deferred compensation plan. This is an element that was actually in the previous town manager's contract, but was not in this one, so we have put that back in. We have increased cell phone coverage, a modest amount, from $60 a month to $85 a month. We made stipulations or clarifications on language about vacation to understand vacation days, and we've also put it in terms of hours, which is in the contract. So the amount of vacation is not changed, but it was just made clear that any week vacation, even though town hall is not open on Friday, that is still considered a work day. And it is also gauged at 200 hours, which is the 5 weeks of vacation. And lastly, in the compensation, we've agreed to an increase in the first year of 6% in FY22, 5% in FY23, and 5% in 2024, and that was in result of the investigation and evaluation analysis of all town managers in the region. And those increases that I just notified or just mentioned will bring the town manager in the same range as other town managers in the extended region of neighboring towns. The board went back and forth with the town manager. It was fair negotiations. Then we've come to a document I think we all feel comfortable with and agree with. We have always, if you have heard the town manager evaluation reports, we've all felt the town manager is doing an excellent job. We obviously would want to secure another 3 years and hope she continues to want to do that. So this is a fair contract that I think is in good faith on both sides and really addresses the needs of both the town and the town manager herself. Would you feel that is a fair summary? Did I miss anything? Did I miss anything? Okay. So then I would entertain a motion regarding the contract of the town manager to be made this day, the 17th of August, 2021, and to expire in 3 years' time.
So moved.
July, retro to July 1st. Did you say August? Yep.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes, well, this has to be, right. The other contract expired at the end of June, so this will be subject to backface to July 1st of 2021, and it'll expire June 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, none.
Thank you, Heather,
So
for
is
your
this-
service.
Thank you all, and
What, do
I
we
look
want
forward
to put the
to
first day here?
you put today's date.
Okay.
Right there. Yep. I look forward to hopefully more than 3 years with the town, so, thank you.
That would be nice. I will send this down. How many copies do we need of this? Just one? Okay, first quarter water commitment for our water department, our confusing water department, not to be confused with the water district, of $9,311.09. I would entertain a motion that we authorize us signing and approving the first quarter FY22 water commitment to be sent out.
So moved.
So a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Pen is running out, so let's send that down. Minutes. Do we have minutes?
No minutes this week.
No minutes, okay.
It's another same.
Oh, this is the water, oh, there's two things for the water commitment.
That's a letter, Elaine drafted for thank you. No longer on the
Oh,
green.
yeah. Okay, no minutes today. Warrants. We have a payroll warrant in the amount of $685,963.55. And we have a deduction warrant in the amount of $144,032.87. And any action file issues or action items? Hearing none. Committee reports. Anybody have any committee reports? Mr. Marino?
Nope.
Mr. Dwyer?
No.
Oh, did I miss one? Accounts payable, sorry. Pulled two of them together. Accounts payable warrant in the amount of $198,243.14. Thank you, Mr. Jeffries.
Came back down. Missed it too. No committee reports for me. MPO was canceled, and TCP design was also.
And no committee reports from me. I think that is par for the course for August, late July, August, so. Okay, old business, vote on special town meeting date, November 16th, 2021 at 7 PM, and the opening and closing dates for the warrant, August 24th to open it, and September 28th at 5 PM to close it. Are there any further things we need to know?
Nope, the board discussed this previously. This is just the official vote that so we'll send out notification and do the advertisement in the paper.
Okay.
Formalize it.
So these are the dates we've been talking about. I would entertain a motion regarding finally voting, a final vote on the special town meeting date of November 16, 2021 at 7 PM, and an opening and closing date for the warrant, opening on August 24th, closing September 28th at 5 PM.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Discussion of notice from Mass Housing on 40B site approval application from Pondview Commons LLC. Mr. O'Brien, any news aside from the fact that we have the extension, and are we meeting with town council next week?
Next week is our meeting with town council. I sent a template that he had sent me upon request, just outlining a format that we could use as a baseline, tweak to our specifics, add in other concerns that have been brought up that we feel are valid to bring to the attention of Mass Housing.
Excellent. We've gotten a lot of public comment from the public. If you are out there and you would like to comment and haven't already on this project, please send them to the town manager's email. They will be forwarded to the Board of Selectmen, so we will see them too, but they will be included in our response to Mass Housing regarding this application of the 40B on Howard Street. If board members are going to supply their own, please, this is the week to do it, including myself. So, when are they due?
Comments are due by next Monday.
No, when do we have to have them done to the state?
To the state, our letter needs to be in by September 2nd.
Okay, right, so anything from the public needs to be here by next Monday, and then we are going to work with, town manager is going to work with town council and us to basically bring that together into one unified response, one unified packet.
Yep. For the board, all the letters are in the Google Drive.
Yep.
They're under Pondview Commons 40B.
Okay. Upcoming meetings, so next week we have a meeting here. That will be our last meeting of the month, August 24th. And we know at least two things that are going to be on it. So we'll have the earth permit for the Proctors on Mass Ave, and we'll have town council here for the 40B.
We will also have the finance director. She'll be here to do her fourth quarter finance report.
And have our friends at Powers and Sullivan started their work on the audit yet?
They did their preliminary work back in June, so they'll be back again.
Excellent. Good. Any public comment from the public? Is anybody raising said hands?
No hands raised.
Okay. Any public comment from the board?
None.
All right. Then I would entertain a moment, having cleared the agenda, entertain a moment to adjourn. A motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?